There's a moment every man experiences in a relationship, a moment he cannot explain clearly, cannot describe precisely, and cannot point to directly with certainty, but he can feel it viscerally, a shift. Something fundamental changes in her eyes, in her tone, in her timing, in her presence. She's still there physically, occupying the same space, but emotionally, it feels like someone systematically dimmed the light behind her face. The warmth has gone somewhere else. Most men ignore this moment when it first appears. They rationalize it away. They blame external factors, stress from work, hormonal cycles, bad moods, family drama, anything but what's actually happening. But the truth is simpler and considerably darker than these comfortable explanations. When a woman begins to emotionally detach, the relationship is already in serious danger. She doesn't announce it formally. She doesn't confess it directly. She simply changes. Not because she's malicious or evil, not because she wants to deliberately hurt you, but because emotional withdrawal is instinctive. It happens before she even fully realizes it herself. And if you don't recognize the early signs with clarity, you lose the relationship long before the breakup conversation ever happens. Today, I'm giving you the 6 psychological signs she's pulling away, based on real emotional patterns, attachment theory, and observable human behavior. Not paranoia, not guesswork, not fear-based thinking, awareness, because a man who sees clearly cannot be blindsided by what's coming. I'm not talking about physical frequency of intimacy. I'm talking about emotional presence during connection. A woman who is genuinely connected to you pours warmth into every moment. A look across the room, a touch that lingers, a small gesture, a joke shared quietly between you. But when she starts to emotionally detach, something subtle happens that you can feel but struggle to name. Intimacy stops feeling like genuine connection and starts feeling like obligation or routine. She's there physically, but not there emotionally. Her body is beside you in bed, but her mind is somewhere else entirely. The softness in her touch is gone. The spark in her eyes is gone. The sense of us, of being a unit, is fading into you and her. 2 separate entities. This isn't primarily about sexual frequency. It's about emotional investment. And here's the psychology behind this shift. When a woman's emotional bond loosens, her nervous system disconnects from vulnerability. Touch no longer releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone. It triggers tension instead. Most men sense this change, but they systematically misinterpret it. They think maybe I'm not good enough, maybe I'm doing something wrong, maybe I need to try harder, invest more effort. No. Trying harder actually accelerates the distance, because when a woman's emotional connection fades, your pursuit feels like pressure, not reassurance. This one cuts deep. When a woman begins creating emotional distance, you'll see it manifested in a sudden need for space, but not healthy, communicated space. Avoidant space. She becomes suddenly occupied with other things, suddenly tired all the time, suddenly unavailable, suddenly overwhelmed by life. Not gradually over time, overnight. A woman who is emotionally grounded will communicate directly. I need a little time for myself today. A woman who is disconnecting will avoid explaining anything clearly. She slips away quietly because she doesn't want questions. She doesn't want conversation. She doesn't want emotional accountability for the change. Her nervous system is telling her, protect your space, protect your autonomy, create distance. This isn't conscious betrayal. This is a psychological defense mechanism. Emotional detachment always comes before emotional exit. Always. Words lie easily. Body language doesn't. A woman who is emotionally connected faces you directly, leans into your presence naturally, mirrors your tone, and stays open in her posture. A woman who is disconnecting shows specific patterns: less eye contact, closed posture, crossed arms creating barriers, distracted fidgeting, micro-withdrawal when you touch her, her torso angled away from you, shorter, shallower breaths, tension visible in her jaw. This is not rejection of a specific action. This is emotional withdrawal happening underneath her conscious awareness. Attachment theory calls this the disengagement response. It's the body trying to create emotional safety by pulling back from a vulnerability. Most men sense the distance but interpret it incorrectly. They think she's angry or irritated about something specific. But irritation is surface level and can be addressed. Detachment is deeper, colder, quieter, more dangerous to the relationship's survival. A woman's emotional energy is the heartbeat of any relationship. Warmth, excitement, curiosity, these are signs she's engaged. But when she begins to drift away, her emotional temperature plummets noticeably. Conversation becomes shorter and less meaningful. Responses become colder and more distant. Laughter disappears from interactions. Small frustrations become disproportionately bigger than they should be. She reacts slower or sharper or not at all. It's not simple moodiness, it's emotional disinvestment. Her psyche is unconsciously rationing emotional energy, saving it for herself, protecting it, withdrawing it from you. This can happen for many reasons. Unmet emotional needs, unexpressed resentment building over time, attachment triggers from her past, loss of attraction, feeling unsafe emotionally, confusion about her own feelings, another source of emotional stimulation, not necessarily romantic. But the key idea is this: the temperature drops before the breakup conversation, not after. Emotion leaves first. Words come later. Not because she's necessarily hiding another man. Often it's much simpler. She is using her phone to create psychological distance from you. A phone becomes a psychological shield. When she feels emotionally overwhelmed, she feels guilty about disconnecting. She wants an escape from confrontation. She feels anxious around you. She's avoiding deeper conversations. Notice the shift carefully. She doesn't just use her phone more frequently. She uses it differently. It becomes a refuge, a distraction, a way to avoid eye contact, connection, and presence with you. Her nervous system is saying it's safer in my digital world than in this emotional space with him. It hurts, but it's often not about you specifically. It's about her internal struggle to manage the emotional gap widening inside her. This is the most important sign of all. When a woman begins pulling away, her life patterns shift, not dramatically, but noticeably to someone paying attention. The change is not primarily in where she goes, but in how she feels about where she goes. She becomes vague in her explanations, not because she's lying, but because she's emotionally conflicted. She becomes overly detailed, not because she's hiding something, but because she feels guilty. She becomes inconsistent, not because she's deceiving you, but because her emotions are unstable. The real giveaway isn't her routine itself. It's the disconnection between her words, tone, and behaviour. Humans can fake explanations with effort, but they cannot fake emotional congruence. Something is off. And you feel it in the silence between her sentences. Your intuition notices the part she's not saying. Your stomach hears what her voice tries to disguise. Your nervous system reads what her body won't express. When a woman begins to withdraw, her story often gets cleaner and more detailed, but her energy gets messier and more inconsistent. That is the truth. Everything I've shared is not about accusing her. It's not about proving someone did something wrong. It's not about paranoia or suspicion. It's about emotional awareness. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Men often sense emotional withdrawal weeks or months before the breakup happens. But they silence that instinct. They tell themselves they're overthinking it. They blame themselves for being insecure. They try harder, give more, push deeper. And the harder they try, the faster the distance grows. Why? Because when a woman is pulling away, pressure suffocates her. Neediness overwhelms her. Over-explaining makes her disconnect further. Awareness is not for confrontation. Awareness is for self-preservation. It's to protect your peace, your dignity, your emotional stability. Here is the part no one teaches men. When she pulls away, do not chase. Do not cling desperately. Do not interrogate. Do not panic. Instead, slow down your emotional output. Match her pace without resentment, not to punish, to stabilize the connection. Reinvest into yourself. Your energy becomes magnetic again when it's focused inward. Stop over-communicating. Let the tension settle. Let her emotional, nervous system breathe. Create space, not hostility. Space allows clarity for her and for you. Raise your standards silently, not as a threat. As a reminder of your value. Observe, don't react. Her behavior will tell you everything. Calm minds see truth. Agitated minds fabricate fear. Accept possibility instead of denying it. Detachment doesn't always mean betrayal, but it always means something needs to be confronted, eventually, with clarity, not anger. The purpose of this message isn't to turn you against women, or to fill you with suspicion, or to make you defensive. The purpose is simple: to give you the clarity you were never taught. Men are conditioned to ignore their intuition, to silence their instincts, to doubt their inner knowing. But your intuition is ancient, it's powerful, it's built for survival, emotional and physical. When a woman's energy changes, your body always knows before your mind does. Learn to trust that, not to judge her, but to protect you. Because a man who sees clearly cannot be manipulated, blindsided or broken. He becomes the one thing every woman respects deeply. A man grounded in truth.